Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts. And I'm excited to kick off Season 2 of our podcast series in partnership with Rappahannock Electric Cooperative. It's called We Are REC. Every week we'll release a new episode talking to different people from REC about a host of different topics. We'll get tips for saving money on your electric bill. We'll talk about renewable energy and the impact it can have in our communities. We'll get some behind-the-scenes info about what happens when the power goes out in a storm. Don't miss out on information about community grants, scholarships, REC-hosted events, and more. Get every single episode on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or on Spotify. Just do a quick search for We Are REC. Hello, and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Friday. As you are listening to the show today, we, however, have really got our ducks in a row this week and are pre-recording the show on a Monday afternoon over Zoom. Elise is on the Zoom screen with me because it is United Way Day. So, Elise, how are things at the United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley?
They are good, and it is about as busy as it ever gets here. It is prime campaign time. It is almost Day of Caring. We are busy over here, but loving it. Everything is going really well.
So before we get into our conversation with Lauren Cummings, I have a personal question. Well, not really a personal question, but my birthday is coming up in October, and all of my friends are doing these fundraisers on Facebook so that you can raise money for your birthday for a particular nonprofit. Does United Way have that option? Can I choose you in October when I set up my fundraiser?
We would love it for you to choose us. It's an easy option for nonprofits to have that as an opt-in, but please definitely fundraise for us because every little bit helps. And this year more than ever, I think every single dollar we raise is going to be absolutely vital. We're seeing a huge uptick in need in our community right now, just through our stats we've been seeing at our Valley Assistance Network program, where they are up about 60% month over month. It is phenomenal, and they are swimming and just treading water as fast as they can, just because there is such a huge amount of need in our community right now. So every single dollar that people can raise, or that if you're interested in raising, it is making a huge impact, and what's going to go directly towards our impact grants and helping United Way help more people in our community.
Well, I will go on and see if I can start my fundraiser early. How about that?
Well, you just go on with your bad self. I love it, Janet.
So you've got with us on the Zoom screen today is Lauren Cummings. She is with the Northern Shenandoah Valley Substance Abuse Coalition. Lauren, it is good to see you. You do not come and do the show with me near often enough.
Oh, well, I appreciate the invite, Janet, and I'm happy to come back anytime.
So tell me what's going on with you, because everybody we've been talking to has been talking about the effects of the pandemic. Have you seen COVID-19 effects with what you're working on at the coalition?
Absolutely. A number of our drug treatment court clients lost their jobs in the midst of the pandemic. We've seen, community members who have been in recovery for long periods of time have relapsed. We have seen an increase in the number of non-fatal and fatal overdoses in our community. We stand today in 2020 at 38 deaths in our region. So our region makes up the Northwest region of Virginia, which is Winchester, Frederick, Clark, Shenandoah, Page, and Warren. At the same time last year, we were at 23 deaths. So that is a 65% increase in opioid overdose deaths. And non-fatal overdoses, we are at 132 for the year compared to 83 at the same time last year. So, a lot of individuals are struggling. Folks who don't have a substance use disorder are struggling right now. A lot of people have been laid off. I often say that the opposite of addiction is connection. And addiction is a disease of isolation. And this pandemic has forced a lot of individuals into isolation due to social distancing requirements. Support group meetings are being moved to online platforms, and folks are struggling to feel that connection with people. And so we're encouraging family members and friends of those with a substance use disorder to reach out to their loved ones, check on them, ask how they're doing. If you notice that someone is struggling, do not delay. Please request help. I have received countless calls from parents and loved ones across our region who are looking for treatment options for their loved one. I've helped to get individuals into treatment during this time because it's more important than ever. As you can see with these overdose numbers, we know that individuals are dying. And so you have to act, and you have to act fast if you know someone is struggling.
On Monday, I had a conversation with Dr. Mark Johnston, who is the superintendent at Shenandoah County Public Schools. And we were talking about what their virtual classes are going to look like. And the way that they've structured everything in Shenandoah County, they're bringing all hands on deck. Bus drivers, cafeteria workers, they're doing so much outreach if students drop off the radar and aren't showing up to class in whatever way class looks like. We talked about some of the ancillary services that we've come to depend on the school systems for, like meals, like being that watchdog of sorts. Do you think that's going to be a big impact that you're going to notice too, since kids aren't going back to school and there's no interaction with parents and some of your older teens?
Yeah, I actually read something this morning that the number of Department of Social Services cases right now in Winchester are very, very low. Teachers are the #1 reporting service for these types of incidents. And so across their board, we are seeing the impact. As we know that many of the individuals who are overdosing or who are struggling with addiction are also parents. And so we know that those children are in some cases being neglected. In some cases, they're being abused. And as we said, schools and teachers are sort of the #1 defense against that. And so I do anticipate that when schools go back, if they're going back, and I know every county and jurisdiction in our region is different, that we will see an increase in the number of referrals to the Department of Social Services and to other nonprofit organizations throughout our community that provide those services like food, shelter, and transportation. But we know that there are individuals who need help out there. And our message really is that help is available. There is hope throughout this pandemic. And I think that, folks will come out of this, but we do have to look after each other. And I keep saying that we all have an obligation to our loved ones just to make sure that everybody's okay and to check in. What I will say is that those individuals who are engaged in treatment programs like the drug treatment court that we have and like the law enforcement overdose intervention program and our peer recovery programming, those who are engaged in programs are doing much better than those who are not during this time. We have had a few relapses in our programs, but nothing that is extremely significant relapses. Once you have an accountability aspect like we do in all of our programs, folks are still continuing to do well through their treatment, even though many of those things have gone virtually. The other thing about support group meetings like AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery, all of those different support group meetings is it's not just the meeting itself that individuals are getting a lot out of, it's also what is happening before and after those meetings. They're going there and they're going to see individuals that they see on a weekly basis, and they know that those individuals are providing a level of accountability because they can look at them and say, how are you doing? And if the answer is fine, they know whether or not they're being honest. And so they can call them on that. And there's so much to be said for that peer level accountability that happens during those meetings. And that's what we're missing out on right now.
You mentioned social service referrals and all of the different ways for people to get help. How would they get help from you? Do they reach out to you directly? Do they need a referral from social services? How would somebody say, look, I've got a problem and I now need to find some help with it?
We receive referrals a number of different ways. Certainly they can reach out to us directly and call my number and I'll give them a call back, or a family member, I'll give them a call back as well. Obviously, we also have the referral source that comes through drug court or through the LEO program or through peers, where there is contact, whether it be through criminal justice system where they actually have to go through an attorney to get into our program, or like with our peer program that we received the grant from the United Way, that actually goes through Northwestern Community Services. And so our peers are connected with individuals in the community. Also through the jail system, we're receiving peer referrals. So anybody can reach out to us. And again, we're happy to help anybody who is in need.
So, Elise, I wasn't on the group of people in the different committees when grant decisions were being made, where the drug court and all of the substance abuse stuff was happening. Were there a lot of people vying for money? I mean, how hard was that decision? Because I know we didn't have enough to give everything to everybody. How hard was it to kind of figure out who was going to get what?
It is, there's never enough money to go around, which is, it's to be expected. But at United Way, we do raise about $1 million every year, and it all goes right back to local charity. And we give all the money out through those impact grants, like you were talking about. And we divide it up into education-related grants, financial stability grants, and health-related grants. And as you know, of course, substance abuse is a huge issue throughout our community. And so it was very important to us to make sure that our volunteers who make the decisions, it was very important to them to make sure that there was funding to support the great work that's happening here locally. And we're very, very proud to have this longstanding relationship and to be able to do whatever we can to try to make a dent in things. And we do expect that this year with COVID, that a lot of things are going to change, and that what people are asking for, it's already changing. What people are needing is already changing. Programs that people had designed are evolving, and we are just going to be flexible and nimble. And that's what we do at United Way, is we're a nimble organization that tries to respond to real needs in real time, and allow our organizations and nonprofits to pivot their programs to whatever they may need to be. If this is like a food pantry, we were out at Page One in Page County the other day, and they have evolved their system from an entire, an in-house system where people would shop and pick their food to an entire drive-through program. And we're seeing that across the board in all of our nonprofits, and we're just doing whatever we can to just try to be there and be supportive of all of our partners, which there's about 40 of them in our community right now that are working hard in all these different ways.
Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, Lauren, can we talk a little bit about the pivot? Because everybody has had a pivot of some sort, and how you guys are kind of adjusting to this non-in-person stuff that is happening all around us. Can we talk about that a little bit when we come back?
Absolutely. Sounds great, Janet.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to chat more with Lauren Cummings. She is with the Northern Shenandoah Valley Substance Abuse Coalition. Elise is sharing the Zoom screen with us today for United Way Day with United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley. I am Janet Michael. You are listening to The Valley Today. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Do you know anyone who is struggling with financial hardships because of coronavirus? Our new webinar called Coping with the Money Crunch can help. We'll talk about immediate options to consider, revising or creating a spending plan, and lots of community resources. Then we'll cover how to narrow your priorities, contact creditors, and avoid scams and risky loans. The webinar is free, and you can either join by phone or through Zoom on a smartphone, tablet, or computer. You can find out more by visiting the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program on Facebook or calling Karen Poff at 540-635-4549. Let me show you how to make your own plan or help someone you care about get through the crisis. Call 635-4549 or visit at NSV Financial Education on Facebook today.
Welcome back to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. It is United Way Day as you are listening to the show today. We, however, have pre-recorded our conversation on a Monday afternoon. We are on the Zoom screen with Elise from United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley and Lauren Cummings from the Northern Shenandoah Valley Substance Abuse Coalition. And Lauren, it was interesting. We were talking during the break about just some of the outreach that you've had from parents, from people who are experiencing some rehabilitation, but at the same time, some concerns about what the outcome of that is going to be. What's been going on with you from that perspective?
Yeah, I often receive calls from parents or family members who are asking for treatment resources for their loved one. And once we get them set up with an inpatient treatment facility, I always get the question of, will this fix him or her, whatever the case may be? And I remind them that, there is no magic wand to fix addiction. Often insurance will pay for 28-day inpatient treatment for addiction. And, our expectation for substance use disorder should be no different than it is for any other disease. We wouldn't expect someone who is suffering with cancer to go away for 28 days and to magically be fixed. And it should be the same for substance use disorders. There is no magic wand, and 28 days is not going to fix anyone. You know, addiction is a lifelong disease. And so our message is that some folks will get out of treatment and they will relapse. And sometimes they have to re-engage in treatment. So I think in breaking down the stigma of addiction in our communities, what we have to remember is that some folks will have to re-engage in treatment, and that's okay, just as it would be for any other disease. And that's just a great reminder.
I've talked to a lot of different doctors over the last several months through Valley Health and the community health partnership that we have in place with them. And one of the concerns, one of the shows that we did was about people not getting medical care because they were afraid of maybe contracting the virus. So they weren't going to the emergency room if they had heart issues, or they weren't keeping their diabetes in check. Are you hearing the same thing, that people are just concerned about starting some sort of a treatment program because they're worried about they might get the virus if they check into something?
Yeah, absolutely. People are delaying right now, right, for so many different reasons. And unfortunately, when they're coming into the emergency department, it is very severe. It's because they have either suffered a non-fatal overdose, or they're going through alcohol withdrawals that are very dangerous and can be deadly. And so again, our message is don't delay. If someone needs help, reach out now before it is too late. We have seen over the past few months, really since March, this colliding of two public health crises. We have the addiction epidemic on one hand, and we have the COVID-19 pandemic on the other hand. And that has created a whole host of challenges. When this pandemic first started back in March, we started to see local jails and adult detention centers releasing individuals for fear that there would be a COVID-19 outbreak within the detention centers. And during that time, our overdoses increased significantly because individuals were being released early from jail, and they were not being released with resources in place to support them. We also saw, just after the stimulus checks were released on April 15th and tax returns were coming out, we saw a huge increase in overdoses. Those are sort of the unintended consequences of these sorts of things, because individuals often are triggered by money when they have a substance use disorder. And so that's exactly what we experienced.
So we mentioned before we went to break about how so many nonprofits and businesses these days are making a pivot, because much like what we're doing now on a Zoom screen, I haven't done a live radio show in months. Have you guys had to kind of pivot what you're doing? You talked to about AA meetings, and some of these meetings are now going virtual. What have you had to do in your office to kind of accommodate these new circumstances that we're all living with?
Sure. So for drug court specifically, it was very challenging. Normally drug court clients report every single Tuesday to docket. They're in front of a judge and the drug court team. Those meetings had to move virtual. Finally, now we are back in the courtroom, and we're having to make accommodations for social distancing and obviously complying with mask wearing for the clients to actually be in person. But all of their treatment moved to virtual platforms. And so, for some clients, it's interesting. We've seen this generational gap, right? So for clients who are younger and in their 20s, they've enjoyed the virtual meetings. They have opened up more during these virtual meetings. We've also seen that there's been a lot more compliance. Folks aren't missing treatment because you don't have the excuse, right, of I couldn't get a ride. You're there. You can get on your phone and engage in a Zoom call. But also for some of our older clients, it's been hard for them. It's been a hard adjustment because they just don't feel that connection. And they're saying to us, it's just not the same. So we're hoping as quickly as we can to be able to start doing those meetings in person again. Of course, in group therapy, you have 10 individuals in a room. And so being able to find the space to accommodate those types of large groups while maintaining social distancing provides its own host of challenges. So we're trying to work around that and be able to be with our clients as much as possible. I'll tell you though, what's been really important for us is our surveillance officers who are a part of the program. During the COVID-19 shutdown, they were actually going out on a day-by-day basis and going to our clients' homes and making contact with them. So they saw a face from the program, providing that accountability, providing drug screens right there to them, which has been huge to us. We couldn't do it without our surveillance officers, so we appreciate them. And now they're continuing to do night checks and curfew checks as we've been able to open up a little bit more. But then again, our coalition meetings are continuing to be done virtually. We can't put 40 people in a room right now, so we're doing those virtually. Our next one's this Thursday. So we're all having to adjust in our own way.
Do you think some of these little pieces you may keep, especially from a virtual perspective of being able to get 40 people in a room, is complicated on a regular basis? So maybe now giving people the Zoom option, you may get more activity and more attendance?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's some things that we have all learned from this pandemic that we will continue once it is finally over, and everybody likes to hear those words. It will end, right? we hope it will. But there are things that we certainly miss. We have annual events every year. Our Addicted to Hope rally is normally in September. Not able to do that this year. We're going to supplement with some other little events. But we do have a virtual run for recovery coming up on October 10th. It's our 4th annual. Folks will be able to run anytime during that week leading up to October 10th, and they'll report their time, and then we'll send them a t-shirt. They're still going to get a t-shirt. We'll mail it to them. So folks can actually register if they go to our website, roadtorecovery.info. But we're excited about that event, and we're actually renting the pavilion there at Rose Hill Park here in Frederick County, which we've rented for the past 4 years. And our drug court clients will be able to come out, social distance, and be able to participate in the run or walk.
And that's really cool too, because people can run wherever they want to run, their neighborhoods even, and be able to participate where maybe they couldn't have before.
Right, exactly. I know a lot of people are using their treadmill, right, to calculate their time, and that's fine. However you want to do it, run or walk. It's a 5K, and we're excited to get everybody out.
So, Elise, I remember a couple of months ago when we were recording a radio show, you had just finished. I think it was a 5K because you didn't want to turn your camera on because you swore you were a hot mess and didn't want anybody to see you. Are you going to participate in the virtual run for recovery?
Well, that is why I asked, because I do 5K about 3 times a week, and that is all for my mental health. Because when you have a small child at home and you have a husband who works at home now for the foreseeable future, your only time alone is when you are out on a run. And so I find myself going on a lot more runs, and I'm eager to accept these new challenges like this Road to Recovery 5K. How would I sign up for this 5K, Lauren?
Just head on over to our website, roadtorecovery.info, and you can send in all your sign-up information and registration. Elise will get you signed up, I promise.
Sounds great.
So, Elise, Day of Caring is around the corner, isn't it?
It is coming up. It is chomping at our heels right now. It is almost here, September 16th.
So how's it go? Because I know the last month we were talking about the need for projects. Have projects come in? Are you good to go with projects?
We are just good now. This year is one of those weird ones. It is not like we expected. There are so many changes, and we're just staying, we're just trying to stay as safe as we possibly can while still keeping the event happening. And we're doing that this year by limiting our group size to 10 or smaller groups of 10 or smaller. And then also that means project sites are also smaller and more constrained. And so we are finally, I think, at a good point with that. And I just checked right before this, I was looking at about 83 projects, which is still pretty darn close to where we've been in years past. Smaller groups of volunteers, but that is because we had to constrain the numbers. But we are doing everything over the course of one single day on September 16th in Winchester, Frederick, Clark, Shenandoah, and Page counties. And so it is a huge effort for us still. We're very excited about it.
And are you set for volunteers as well, or?
For the most part, I think we are pretty good. We have a few spots here and there, mostly in the Shenandoah and Page regions, but I don't expect them to be there for very long. Yeah, we are very, it's just about, fingers crossed, good to go. But we do have some really cool stuff going on this year that we're excited about.
You better knock on some wood as quickly as you can.
I just did. But we have some really neat projects happening. Things like putting in raised garden beds for community gardens and doing like some deep cleaning of like the YDC and a lot of sanitizing of small nonprofits, things like that, with painting, gardening. There's some really great stuff. And I'm excited to be able to be sending out, it's looking like 600-700 volunteers out to the community, and while also making sure everybody is distant and safe. It it is an exciting and challenging year for sure.
Well, and it'll be interesting years from now when you look back and compare the types of projects and how different they were in this year than they were from the years previous and the years after.
Absolutely. And it's funny because some of the projects we've always had working with children or the elderly are just not happening. And so we have gotten very creative this year. We're doing a trash pickup throughout Frederick County and Winchester with VDOT. And so we're adopting basically all of Winchester and Frederick County because you're outside and you are distant and you definitely want to wear a mask. And so we are just, pivoting is the word.
I love the creativity of that. Yes, you want to wear a mask when you're picking up trash. So kudos to you for thinking of that.
That just helps our whole community, like it becomes, we know this is a beautiful place to live, and, doing something as humble as picking up trash off the side of the road, it just makes a huge impact for absolutely everybody. And it saves money, and it makes our community look even more beautiful. And so we're excited about it. It's a first timer.
So speaking of trash, I'm going to use that as a segue to trash cans so that I can then segue to the Rubbermaid sale. That was a long segue.
Yes. No, I got you. I'm following your segue because at United Way, we don't like trash. And so that's why we have trash cans. And trash cans, you can get those at Rubbermaid sale. And that is happening tomorrow, which is 8/29 at the Belk parking lot in Winchester at the mall. Starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's a big fundraiser event, and this month is with the Salvation Army. And so if you're interested in getting a great deal on trash cans or anything else that Rubbermaid might handle or produce, come on out to the sale and see what we have in a tractor trailer that we'll be unloading that morning.
And just so people understand, even though this is held outside in the parking lot outside of Belk at the Apple Blossom Mall, there still needs to be masks. Some of your volunteers are at-risk people. You still need to take all of the necessary precautions.
That is 100% accurate. This event is 100% staffed by volunteers, except for one or two United Way people that are there to sort of oversee it. So a lot of the people we have are older and at risk. So in order to keep this Rubbermaid sale going, which does actually raise over $100,000 each year for our local nonprofits, we're just trying to be as safe as possible. And that just means requesting people wear masks and even gloves if they like. And it really does allow us to keep this vital fundraiser going for our community.
So where can people get information about all of the stuff that's happening with United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley?
You can go onto our website, unitedwaynsv.org, or our Facebook, which is just United Way NSV. And just to double check, the weather could be questionable this weekend. We don't exactly know if a hurricane is going to hit or not. But if you want the most up-to-date information, make sure to look at our Facebook, which is United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley, and just look up our Rubbermaid sale. And we'll have more information on the status of that there.
I predict nothing's going to happen until after 12 when the sale is over. So, well, actually after 1 or 2, so you guys can get whatever isn't sold back in the trailer and then get to your cars.
I appreciate that weather report. And just so everyone knows, Janet did just say it will not rain between 8 and noon on Saturday. So
we'll see. Yeah. And Lauren, if somebody wants to sign up for the virtual Run for Recovery, or they just want to get more information about all of the drug treatment programs and options that are available to them, where should they go to get that?
They can head over to our website, which is roadtorecovery.info, or we have a Facebook page, which is the Northern Shenandoah Valley Substance Abuse Coalition.
Fantastic. Well, we are going to wrap up our conversation today for United Way Day. We have been chatting with Elise from United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley on the Zoom screen. Along with her was Lauren Cummings. She is with the Northern Shenandoah Valley Substance Abuse Coalition. Ladies, I hope you have a great weekend. And Elise, I know you're not going to get rained on at all in the morning, so take your umbrella just in case.
Okay, got it, Janet. Thank you.
I'll be back on Monday. I'll have a brand new episode of The Valley Today ready to go for you.